Thank you, Sasha, and thank you to the Unity Mission Trust, and especially to Uncle Bertil and Auntie Shamala for inviting me tonight to speak with you at this very special event. And wow, going up after the motivational speaker, not an easy task, but yes, I can. So I'm inspired by all these women who have spoken before me. And I thought I would bring a slightly different angle to my experience, where I would approach this subject from a very personal point of view, and to tell you my story, because I'm certainly still in the middle of my journey. And I would like to share the experiences that have shaped my journey so far, and the strength that I go to, and the strength behind all the things that are important to me, the people, the women, the family, and the men as well, who have helped me and shaped my vision and my contribution to society. So I'd like to tell you a little bit first about the place I work at. It's an education services industry. It's a family business, which is vocational and tertiary education. It was founded in 1901 by my great-grandfather. Now, you can imagine what it was like in 1901, over 100 years ago. It must have most definitely been a man's world. So his vision for a college was to give an opportunity to the youth of Sri Lanka, both men and women, which was right off the bat unusual, because most young women then were not given an opportunity to develop their vocational skills. So this was a new thing, so that they could empower themselves and enter the job market as skilled workers. So as I came back from New York to work at the Polytechnic, it was very interesting for me to read about this, and also to know that when my great-grandfather first started the institute, the first thing that he did was to immediately summon his two sisters from India to help him run it. A very wise man. He knew even then in 1901 that women are the backbone of any family business. So the contribution of the women around him was going to be crucial and vital to the success of his vision. So after all, if this was going to be a place that was going to mold and inspire the young workforce of Sri Lanka, a women's influence had to be there. And the irony of it is, as the years went by and thousands of young people walked through the doors of the Polytechnic, the percentage of girls and women flocking to the institute to do so many different courses and programs that they never had a chance to experience before was astounding. So these women were able to further their education, be empowered, and they were from varied backgrounds, not necessarily all from privileged backgrounds. And what was the result that we have seen firsthand at the Poly? The business community have been presented with skilled and trained treasures in the workforce. So I cannot tell you the countless success stories that we hear from women who have attended the Poly and have gone on to achieve great things. So the story was very clear, and to the founder and to the generations that followed, that our mission has been laid out in front of us. Educating and empowering young women would eventually make the difference in the big business community and would be a true strength to Sri Lanka. And I think this is something that Aruni touched on at the beginning, how this number seems to have stopped women in the workforce. And coming back full circle, coming back from New York, now taking over the helm of the Polytechnic, I think this has shaped my vision, because I think it's important to go back to basics. If my great-grandfather could see it then, that women are the future and are the ones who should be skilled and entering the job market, this should be our vision now too. So later on, moving on, the Poly was passed on to the next generation. And it so happened that even though he had two sons, it was eventually his daughter, my grandmother, who took on the helm. for anyone who knew her, and I know Uncle Bertil knew her quite well, she was a force to be reckoned with and instilled in me the importance of education and empowerment of women. This was something that was ingrained in me from birth. And I was lucky to have her and my mother and my aunt and many of their friends as role models. These were women who were in the workforce and balancing all their different roles. They were not just career women, but were also mothers and daughters, wives and sisters and grandmothers. And I watched them as I grew up in this environment of busy women, always striving to reach greater heights, not just in their careers, but supporting the causes that they believed in, and also in our home. And I quickly realized that being an empowered, strong woman was the only way that I wanted to live my life. So this, again, going back full circle, has shaped my life purpose. So in my eyes, they could do it all. And if there was ever a problem that needed fixing, they were most definitely the problem solvers in the world. So these are the people I turned to if I needed support or strength, if I needed empathy, if I needed a shoulder to cry on, and certainly if I needed to be set straight and if I was straying off the path, they were the people I went to. So it was very easy as a young girl, when I realized that I had the knack for maths and science, I knew I would once again depend on them to be successful. I was naturally drawn to engineering and therefore keen to pursue my affinity to these subjects. However, when I did go on finally to read engineering at the University of Bristol in the UK, there was a lot of gender stereotyping about my choice of course. Friends around me thought it was a little strange for me to select mechanical engineering. After all, it is a degree that most boys would select. However, at this point, the women's network around me came to my rescue. They encouraged me to pursue what I liked and was good at, regardless of what everyone else thought I should do. When I did proceed and reached university in the UK, I was surprised to find that out of a class of 80 boys, there were only 8 women in my program. And the first thing I was told was that there was a big dropout rate of women in the course, that most girls would end up changing courses and would find the course uninteresting. Now, I have to tell you that there were times that I felt this way too. Engineering is very male-centered, and it's not easy to break through those societal barriers. However, even then, I channeled the women around me who kept me inspired, and I went on to graduate successfully. Unfortunately, the rumor mill was correct, and 50%, that is 4 out of the 8 girls on my course, ended up changing or dropping out of mechanical engineering. This is a very sad statistic and something that we do need to change. Because what tends to unite engineers, for those of you who may be interested in engineering, is that logical and critical thinking and creativity, along with attention to detail and an enduring passion to make a difference. Now, I would think that is describing most women that I know. They all have those characteristics. So maybe we have got the gender stereotype wrong for engineering. So think about it. So at the end of the day, when I moved to New York too, I do agree with some of the previous speakers who said, step out of your comfort zone. It wasn't easy. I was just married. I was in a new country that I had never lived in before, and I had just started working in an engineering firm. About 80% of the firm were men. And to add to that, I was an Asian woman in New York City working in an American firm. So it wasn't an easy thing. And there were times that I wanted to give up, especially on those freezing cold New York days where you have to wake up and take the train to your work. And it's not an easy journey. But these are things that when you have the support system and when you have the empowered people around you supporting you, it's something that you can reach, and you have to break those barriers to get to those things that are passionate to you. So the message is very clear, and I'm going to end on this message. Education is key. No matter what the field you choose to pursue, do what you are passionate about. Don't let anyone stand in your way, especially not a gender stereotype. Surround yourself with strong, powerful people and be inspired and motivated to reach for greater heights. Because you can be the treasures of the future, and the future of women is women after all, and Sri Lanka most certainly needs our help. So you can be the strength that Sri Lanka needs too. So thank you for having me and for listening to me.